Oh man, everybody, are you excited? I know I'm excited. You know why? Because it's finally happening. You know, like years ago when Oda said the lurking legend was going to do stuff and it was always kind of left ambiguous who he meant by lurking legend? Well, in this chapter, there is no debate. The lurking legend himself appears, alright? This'll be One Piece chapter 1089, getting close to 1100. It's not as bombastic as 1000, but 1100 still a pretty good number. But this is chapter 1089, Under Siege. Yes, a good old-fashioned siege. You know, most wars throughout history, you know, sieges were a big part of them. You think of these big crazy battles, people charging with swords and shields and spears. You know, everybody overlooks a good old-fashioned siege, in my opinion. Actually, you know what? Before we even get into the cover page, I'm gonna read something that I usually don't. Oda's author notes for the chapter. He does this with like every issue of Shonen Jump. There's a little blurb that Oda will release, and I don't usually read them. Sometimes they're not even translated, but this one in particular is interesting because Oda basically is apologizing for the spotty schedule of releases. We had that 5-week break when he had to go get his eye surgery, and then we had 2 chapters, and then we had a break, and now we have this chapter, and there's another break after this for the Oban Festival. So Oda specifies, he's like, hey guys, sorry about the spotty release schedule, but you know, the Netflix show is right around the corner, so there's a lot of stuff going on with that. There's also a One Piece Universal Ice show that's coming out too. I didn't even know about that one, but apparently if you could go see it, I would say go see it. Cover page is pretty good. It's just Nami and a cow. Nami is working at her desk, working on her maps. Something interesting that Oda put in there because, you know, Nami's whole dream is to draw a map of the world, and I remember in an SBS a while back, someone was like, is Nami still drawing maps? Because we, like, never see her draw maps. And it's like, yeah, I mean, she is. I mean, like, you know, Oda's not going to show you every single thing the Straw Hats do every day. But yeah, every night, Nami gets herself a nice warm cup of milk, as shown here, and she sits down and she works on her cartography. You know, she draws out some maps and whatever, and that's what she does, right? So we see a cow butler, I would assume, delivering some nice warm milk to Nami. I'm assuming it's fresh. I'm just gonna let you, you know, arrive at your own conclusions on that. Although I guess it's also implied that Sanji was the one that prepared the milk for Nami and just gave it to the cow to deliver to her. So maybe the cow didn't actually produce the milk. Also, it seems like the cow is a bull, so a male cow that would not be a dairy cow. So yeah, the fact it's milk and the fact it's a cow might be completely irrelevant here. Anyway, the cow has a letter that's like, Nami-san, the stars outside twinkle as brightly as your beauty. Why not come out and watch them with me? And that's a letter that Sanji gave to the cow, and Sanji's at the window just like, oh, come on, you know, and Nami just, like, writes a reply back, like, thank you, but I saw them earlier. I'm working. So it's like, poor Sanji, you know? It harkens back. This is like Sanji going with, like, the middle school strategy of, like, do you like me? Yes, no, maybe, and then, like, slip it over, and then, like, the girl's like, no. There you go. That's that. Thank you, but no. All right. So anyway, that's the cover page. It was pretty funny. Okay. So we start off the chapter with the lurking legend. I know Oda's just diving headlong right into this. Okay. We cut over to Foosha Village, Luffy's hometown. Watch that cow right there. That cow will mess you up. Okay. Never trusted that cow. But anyway, Foosha Village, Windmill Village. It's where Luffy's from. Okay. And so we see the man, the myth, the legend right here, Whoop Slap, the mayor of Foosha Village. Oh my goodness, Whoop Slap, also known as the 37th most popular One Piece character in the entire world. That is canon. That is canon. All right? 37th most popular character in the world. He's Whoop Slap. He's got his cane, and he's looking at the newspapers, and everybody in Party's bar is flipping out, right? Because of the news of Garp, you know, missing in action. It doesn't say dead, and that's really important. Makino is also there in the bar, and she's looking at the paper, and she's like, missing in action? What does that mean? It's not dead, right? And Whoop Slap is like, Makino, you don't know Garp. I know Garp. I'm Whoop Slap, darn it. And I'll tell you right now, Garp's not gonna die from merely attacking a Yonko island filled to the brim with pirates. Yeah, so many youngins these days don't know Garp, but Whoop Slap knows Garp, damn it, okay? So, Whoop Slap, Whoop Slap, Whoop Slop. He's like, hello there, Makino, I would like the Whoop Slop special, please. It's just like, okay. So, by the way, for the longest time, I thought his name was Wood Slap, not Whoop Slap. Wood Slap, because he always carries a cane with him, and he's always, like, threatening people with it, so I always thought, like, I'm gonna slap you with my wood. It was okay. So, he seems pretty confident that Garp is not dead, and he's gonna be fine, because he is. However, some person in the bar begins to laugh about this, and then Whoop Slap turns and is just like, who's laughing at a time like this? Who would dare laugh in the presence of the wisdom of Whoop Slap? And it turns out just to be Makino's child. So yeah, Makino had a baby, by the way. Congratulations, Makino, right? We still don't know who the father is, so I don't know, we might have to have like a One Piece version of Mori or something like that. You are not the father. A lot of people seem to be pointing to Shanks just because Shanks is, you know. But no, I don't know. So Makino, interesting. In the anime, her hair is always colored green, and her son's hair is also green. I think her official hair color in the manga is black hair, so just, I don't know, a little note with that. I don't know if that's, like, relevant to anything there. It kind of, like, honestly removes less options for who the father would be, I suppose. But yeah, she has a son, and the baby is crying because Whoop Slap just yelled at him, you know, the Whoop Slap's Conqueror's hockey. It was pretty intense. However, Makino's, like, you know, cradling her son, and is just like, oh, it's okay. And she mentions that her son is even starting to recognize Luffy's face in the paper. So there's an image of Luffy, not in Gear 5th or anything like that, but there's just an image of Luffy there, and, you know, the baby is looking at, like, oh, goo, goo, you know, just, like, really happy about seeing Luffy's face and bringing joy to his smile and everything, which is fair, considering Luffy is, you know, the reincarnation. I shouldn't say reincarnation, but Luffy carries on the will of Joy Boy and is the sun god, bringing smiles wherever he is, or wherever he smiles, ever people smile. So it would make sense that, you know, Makino's son also smiles when seeing Luffy's face. It's like, oh, you really love big bro Luffy, don't you? No family relation. It's just Oni-san, as in just, you know, big bro or something like that. It's not like an actual family relation here or anything. But since we are at Goa Kingdom, might as well, you know, swing by and see what's up with the Dadan family. We got Dadan and Magura and Dogra. They're the mountain bandits that live up on Mount Kolbo. Keep in mind, by the way, they are still mountain bandits. Like, they don't attack Foosha Village because that's where, like, Whoop Slap lives and he keeps them at bay. But Dadan's family are still mountain bandits that probably make a living just going down, raiding villages and stealing stuff. Okay, I guess you could argue they maybe attack more of, like, you know, the Goa Kingdom itself, like the big kingdom. Maybe they steal money from there. There's a fly buzzing around in here right now, and I'm just gonna let him be. So if you see him, you know, there you go. Send a message. Congratulations. Hi, fly. You made it in a YouTube video. All right, but anyway, yeah. They're reading the paper as well, and Dadan is just like, Garp, what are you doing at a time like this? You know, come on now. You're gonna be okay, right? Because Dadan, you know, she cares about Garp just as much as, like, Makino and Whoop Slap do. It's just maybe she might not show it as directly. Anyway, while Dadan is reading the newspaper, Magura and Dogra behind her begin to, like, what's going on here? Oh no, is Whoop Slap awakening his long dormant conqueror's hockey and causing the entire kingdom to shake? So their little, you know, fort out in the middle of the mountains on top of Mount Kolbo, in the middle of the Goa Kingdom, which is tucked way in the East Blue, is beginning to shake. So it's now an earthquake, right? But it's not just Dawn Island. It's not just the East Blue. We now cut to all four blues, as well as the Grand Line, both sides of it, and the Red Line. Oda actually understands here. Geography is everything. See? I told you. Wait, where's my cane? I told you geography was everything. Y'all laughed at me. Y'all laughed at me. Look at it now. You know? Okay, so We cut over to the East Blue at Logtown, so it's on the opposite side of the East Blue, okay? Goa Kingdom is like all the way up over here, and then there's Syrup Village, you know, Bratier, like Logtown's all the way over here, right? They're experiencing the exact same earthquake, okay? I was looking around the crowd of Logtown to see if anybody I recognized. There's actually a woman off to the left of the panel that wears an outfit that's very similar to the outfit that the fake Nami wore, Chocolat, that wore the outfit during the Return to Saba Odiarch. I don't think that's Chocolate. I don't think that's her or anything like that. I think some of the fake Straw Hats survived. I think Drip died, but some of them are still around. I don't know if that's her or not. Probably not. It's just a similar outfit. So that's the East Blue. Massive earthquake in the East Blue, but we're not stopping there. We go to the South Blue, where a massive tsunami is about to crash into an island. Don't think we know what this island is, although it would have been funny if we got to see the Torino Kingdom. That was in the South Blue, where Chopper, you know, studied the medicine with like we originally assumed it was like a primitive tribe of like cavemen, and they were actually like super advanced. So it'd be like, ugh, giant wave about to crash. Oh no, ugh, we must study the tectonic activity that has been currently causing this tsunami to occur. Ah, yes, indeed. But first we must reach higher ground before we die. Ah, yes, indeed, ugh. You know, like there you go. Actually, the Torino Kingdom would probably be fine because they have the giant burbs, and they're actually gotten on good terms with the birds ever since Chopper was there. So, you know, the islanders might just hop up on top of the bird and fly to the top of that tree. They should be good, right? Don't worry about the islanders from the Torino Kingdom. I know everybody was worried about them. I know you were, Fly. Okay, but now we cut over to the West Blue, where we see the Kano Kingdom, not the Wano Kingdom. We'll see that later. The Kano Kingdom, right? This is where Don Sai and Don Chinzhao and the Hapo Navy are from. However, we do not see them in the panel. We actually see, I think her name was Uho Licia, and her father, Chi-Chi Licia. Chi-Chi in Japanese just meaning father, which is ironic considering Chi-Chi from Dragon Ball was, you know, Goku's wife and Gohan's mother. But her name was Chi-Chi, as in father. Actually, I don't know if there was a pun with that. There might have been. I'm not really particularly sure, because Toriyama was a huge fan of puns. But anyway, Uho Licia and her father are part of like another navy that's not the Hapo Navy, and there was supposed to be like a marriage arrangement between Uho Licia and Sai. So this is actually like Sai's like fiance. However, when Sai came back from Dressrosa with Baby 5 and was like, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna marry Baby 5 now, and then Uho Licia got really pissed off and like beat the crap out of Sai, and like the marriage was off, and that really pissed off the whole family, and Don Chinzhao was like, oh, I'm sorry, and yeah, don't feel bad for Uho Licia, though, because she has like 25 other husbands. She literally is very polyamorous, okay? But she was pissed that she had to call off the marriage to Sai, because it's Sai, right? Anyway, we see them there freaking out, and the whole kingdom is shaking. Then finally, we cut to the North Blue. Once again, it's not a place I don't think I immediately recognize. There's a couple of places in the North Blue we know about, like Flevance and stuff, but that's gone because of the whole event that happened there with the disease. I guess we could have seen like Swallow Island or Rubeck or something like that. We could have seen Wolf if he's still alive. Wolf is a character from the Law light novel. That would have been cool. The Germa are from the north, but I don't think they went back there. No, they didn't. They're back. They're working with Caesar right now. They've made Neo mad, so the Germa did not go back to the north, so I guess we couldn't check in on them. Oh, you know who we actually might have been able to see? This would have been wild, okay? Remember the Kraken? Remember Tsurume? Tsurume lives in the North Pole, and I think after the events of Fishman Island, because Horty was like keeping him captive at Fishman Island to serve him while they held his brother hostage, right? So what if like Tsurume rendezvoused, met up with his little brother, and then went back home to the North Pole? That would have actually been wild to see Tsurume in the North Pole experiencing the earthquake, to really give a level of scale. Like this is happening globally. This is happening in the Grand Line, Red Line, all four blues, North Pole, South Pole. This earthquake is massive. It is being felt. The entire world is ringing like a bell right now, okay? This is on the level of, I think like 65 million years ago during the like the KT extinction event, when the asteroid hit and well, meteor hit and wiped out all the dinosaurs, I think that also caused like a massive shockwave throughout the Earth. So the crust of the Earth, like, whoa, you know, the whole Earth like shook. Even like on the other side of the planet, those shockwaves like reverberated a couple of times. So this is like the level of that happening, okay? So we see the four blues. Then we cut to the Grand Line. We see the Twin Capes. We see Laboon, and Laboon is letting out a mighty bellow. We don't see Crocus, but I'm assuming Crocus is either on the shore reading the paper, like, oh, what's going on? Or he's in Laboon, and is like, Laboon, calm down. Oh, do you have a little bit of indigestion? Calm down, you know? We see Iceberg at Water 7. Now, look, I don't know if anybody follows me with this. I really like Iceberg. I really like him as a character. I thought he was really interesting. I like his little quirky natures of just like, well, yeah, I'm the mayor, but I really don't care. I have a little mouse companion. I like Iceberg. He was cool. So it's nice to see him again. You know, he's still there. He's just reading the paper in Water 7. Just earthquakes happening. Like, oh, what's going on? Oh, is the island finally sinking? This one might cause problems for Water 7 amongst all the other islands, considering the precarious state it was in last time we saw it, right? We also see Marine HQ, where all the Marines are, like, falling over themselves. Hina is there, and Hina just kind of walks by, like, you know, whatever. I'm a Rear Admiral. I'm just an earthquake's not a big deal for me. We do cut to Wano very briefly. We see the Flower Capital. We see Momonosuke walking out, in the palace, looking down at the streets of the Flower Capital, and everybody's shaking, and he's just looking up. It's like, oh, what's going on? Is Kaido back? What? Huh? You know, okay, here's the thing. You gotta understand, at Wano, they knock Kaido into a volcano, but they don't really, they never found a body, okay? You gotta understand that Momonosuke and the rest of the Scabbards are probably making a worst-case contingency, what if Kaido comes back? We need to have some plan ready for this. Like, is it Operation Dragon? Are we doing this? It's just like, no, yeah, we're not ready, okay? But they have to think of something for that, okay. We see Impel Down. We see just random prisoners in Impel Down. We don't see Doflamingo or anybody, like any member of the Dofi family, like Pika or Treble in there. We just see some random prisoners in Impel Down being shook. Impel Down is, built on the ocean floor of the calm belt, so that's even more of, like, shaky there. So, yeah, Oda really goes out of his way to show us every aspect of this world that he has created. This chapter is a call-out to geography is everything, like, this is the world I have crafted, Oda says, and he makes this, okay? So we see all four blues, the red line, the calm belt, paradise, the new world. We see all of it. Love it. Okay. So, we even see the top of the Marijua. It's even shaking there. We see the Celestial Dragon City, and the Celestial Dragons are experiencing it on top of the red line. And we see Eam there, and Eam is even, vibrating, undulating, as it were, a little bit. Eam does not say anything or do anything, but just, like, vibrates for a moment, just like, yes. So yeah, giant tsunamis crashing down, covering everybody. We get a radio transmission, as well as, like, the narrator coming on at the same time. So the narrator says, no earthquake in recorded history has ever caused, this much, like, resonation and damage throughout the entire world, where everybody on the entire planet is experiencing this at the same time. However, nobody was able to determine the epicenter of this quake. So it just kind of, like, not going unnoticed, like, everybody was just, like, not a big deal, but, like, maybe because of the way the world is kind of split apart, maybe most people just assumed it was, like, oh, something happening with their isolated island. Like, the Kano Kingdom might have just thought it was something just in their island or in the West and not the rest of the world. Because there's, like, global communications are kind of difficult. Really, Morgans controls all of that, so maybe if Morgans publishes a report about it in the paper, otherwise, the rest of the world might not be able to coordinate, like, oh, you felt an earthquake in the North Blue? We felt it in the West Blue. Oh, you felt it in the South? We felt it all the way over here in the East. It's like, whoa, this is all over the world. This is nuts, right? So while the narrator's coming on, we also have the Denden Mushi report of a ship arriving where Lelucia used to be. Okay, now, I'm not sure if this ship is supposed to be a government vessel or like a marine ship or just a random like passenger ship or something. The radio communication pops up when Eam is on screen, like when on his panel, but we don't really know if it's like, Eam is like listening to the transmission or making the transmission or something like that. I'm assuming it is a government ship or something, and they're like, we're approaching the area where the kingdom used to be, and oh dear Lord, there's a giant hole in the ocean. And we pan out, and yeah, there's a giant hole in the ocean. And the narrator specifies that Lelucia was nuked 6 days ago. So 6 days ago, Mother Flame fires this giant laser, nukes the island, leaves a giant hole, and in 6 days, the hole has not closed. And now the rest of the world is feeling the shockwaves from that as it resonates outward, okay? And so yeah, giant hole in the ocean. It seems to be causing the entire global sea levels to rise. That's not good. And on top of that, the hole doesn't seem to be closing up. The hole's not like, you know, it's just a hole. Now, wait a second. Where have I heard of this? Where have I seen this before? Giant hole in the ocean. Hold on. Oh, dear Lord. No, wait, no, that wasn't. No, that's something else. No, that's not fine. That's the first time we've seen this. No, Ennie's Lobby, of course. Okay, so answers that question. I mean, it kind of does and also opens up a lot more questions. All right, so I'm going to assume the basic deal with Ennie's Lobby now is that okay, so with Lelucia, it was a device that was created by Vegapunk, I feel. And in fact, we're going to get that at the end of the chapter, like Mother Flame, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that. It's basically nuclear fusion or fission, whichever one is the most, you know, relevant here. Anyway, it was something created by Vegapunk, okay? Or York, I guess, specifically. And the hole that was created during Ennie's Lobby, or the hole that exists around Ennie's Lobby, because the hole was probably there first, and then they built Ennie's Lobby over it. That hole was caused by an actual ancient weapon. I'm assuming Uranus, although I guess it could also be Pluton, because Pluton was mentioned to obliterate islands in one shot as well. But Uranus is the god of the sky, and we saw the sky laser, and that's the only one we really haven't really addressed yet in a major way. So I'm assuming it was Uranus, the actual ancient weapon back in the day. The ancient kingdom was probably where Ennie's Lobby is, and so, you know, ancient kingdom was there. Boom! Gets nuked by the sky cannon, by the ancient weapon. Hole opens up, never closes. The whole island, the whole global sea levels rise. This was like 800, 900 years ago. And then the government builds their island, Ennie's Lobby, over it as kind of a sign of like, we control this now. And this is the judicial island that we will decide the laws and justice of this new age. Not the ancient kingdom, not anybody, but the government, more specifically the Gorosei, more specifically Im-sama, okay? So that kind of connects all the dots. Still leaves the question of how the hell is there a hole in the ocean? Doesn't really answer that. Giant laser cannon pelts down and just like this endless stream of water just goes in and it just never closes up. That's still a question. Even 800, 900 years later, the whole of Ennie's Lobby is still there. So that's a little unusual. Not only that, but there's like part of the island is like they built over it is like hovering over Ennie's Lobby. It's very weird when you look at it. Like structurally, it does not seem sound. It seems to defy physics in some way, okay? So that was a real ancient weapon. This was an artificial one, but it seemed to get the job done every bit as the same, okay? So apparently, because of this massive just nuke going off, this sky laser wiping out Lelucia, the entire planet's sea level has now increased by 1 meter. 1 whole meter! For people that don't live, well, I guess for people that do live in the United States, like one of the few places on the planet that doesn't use meters and stuff. Hold on a second. All right, actually, this isn't even accurate, but like, okay. This is a yardstick. This is 3 feet long, apparently also promoting farm safety. I live in Pennsylvania. Anyway, this is a yardstick. A meter is like 4 inches more than this, so it's like a little bit more than this. All right, and that comes up to like my waist. That's a lot, okay? That's a big significant difference for the entire world, especially places like Water 7 that were already kind of sinking because of Aqua Laguna. So I'm just really hoping that in the last 2 years, Iceberg has made headway in making that floaty device that he was going to do to like make the whole island float. They're going to need that more than ever right now because Water 7 is going to be really under after this, okay? So we cut over now to the Kamabaka Kingdom, also in Paradise, where Ivankov and the rest of the Okama are there, and they're like, "Oh, the beach is gone. High tide is happening. It's gonna recede, though, right? We won't be able to run on the beaches anymore." And Ivankov is like, "This is ridiculous," you know. And so the tides are rising all over the world now. in most cases, you know, if you're living on like a coastal town or like a seaside, like fishing village or something, this is bad. Like, this is really, really bad. Your entire town might get just annihilated, okay? You know, it's like, you know, look at the situation in the United States during Hurricane Katrina with New Orleans. New Orleans was like, you know, I think it's slightly below sea level, so look at the devastation that caused with that. So if there's any situation like that where you're near the water, it's just gonna like take over, okay? And in this case, it's not gonna recede, okay? Anyway, we now cut to various like areas like that, like fishing villages all over the world that were submerged entirely, and they're like, you know, there's a shark in my house, I can't live here anymore, we gotta leave. It's like, oh my god, shark in your house, come on now, man. How do you think Doug feels about that, huh, Doug? I think that's very, very inconsiderate, honestly. Us sharks are very, very nice house guests. Indeed. Okay. So anyway, that was Doug. He's Megala Doug. He's a cool dude. All right. So we now cut back to Foosha very briefly, where Whoop Slap is there, and he's just kind of looking out, and he's just like, it seems the end of the world is occurring. Also, you gotta love the random fishermen that are like, wow, boy howdy, look at all the tides coming in. Man, there's gonna be mad fish to catch today. Let's go. And they're like, no, you will die. What are you doing? The freaking sea level is increasing more than we've ever seen before, and we had a massive earthquake. This isn't good. We should get to high ground immediately. Yeah, actually, the members of the citizens of Foosha might actually head to Mount Kolbo, and Dadan might have to, like, you know, like make sure to set up a shelter or something for them to all stay the night or something, because there's going to be massive tsunamis happening here now. Okay, that's a big thing, right? Now we cut back to Egghead Island, where we see the Marine fleet finally gathering together. We have over 100 Marine battleships of varying size and class. Out of these, there are 20 great warships, like the 20 top-of-the-line biggest warships that they could muster. On top of that, they have a total of 30,000 Marines. These are enough Marines to put a Buster Call to shame, okay? So you gotta remember, with the Buster Call, you have 5 Vice Admirals heading up 10 warships that are about 1,000 each, 1,000 Marines each. Okay, so that's about 10,000 Marines for a Buster Call. It's a very, very big deal that can wipe out an entire island, but this is like 3 times even that in terms of just the sheer number. In terms of the firepower, it's even more. It might be 100 times the firepower, right? It's just insane, okay? So we also have 9 Vice Admirals and 1 Admiral heading this whole operation up. So that's like, yeah, it's like stacking several Buster Calls on top of each other. One of Vegapunk's sea beasts, the mechanized sea giraffe, attacks one of the Marine ships, and it just gets shot with a laser by Kizaru and just gets knocked off the hull. So Kizaru's there, and we see the Vice Admirals as well. Some of the Vice Admirals we recognize, but really it's only Dahl and Doberman, not to be confused with Dalmatian. So Doberman is a Vice Admiral who's not a dog, but he's named after a dog. Dalmatian is the Marine Vice Admiral who is a dog because he has the Dalmatian zone. Just make sure you get that. But all the other ones, other than Doberman and Dahl, I don't think we've seen before. There is somebody that resembles Kadar a little bit. Kadar was the Rear Admiral that dealt with the Sun Pirates back in the day that fought against Fisher Tiger. And Kadar's ship was stated to have been sunk, but we never really found out about what happened to him. And he was a Rear Admiral, so the idea that he might have survived that is not ridiculous. There's somebody that looks kind of similar to him with the glasses, but that's really it. Other than that, we have this big beefy dude with a giant beard. I'm gonna call him Vice Admiral Beardsley. Then we have Dahl. Awesome BDSM Dommy Mommy. Let's go with that. Then we have Doberman. Actually, Doberman seems to be on call for a lot of these Buster Call siege operations, because he was also one of the Vice Admirals that was at the Buster Call at Ennie's Lobby, so now he's at this one. Then we have another unnamed Vice Admiral. He looks kind of like Frankie a little bit. He's got Frankie shades and a even more impressive butt chin than Frankie does, so I'm going to call him Vice Admiral Butt Chin. Yeah, there we go. Then we have a dude, long beard with like a streak of white, and he's holding like a weapon that kind of looks like a pair of tongs, like those giant grabber things, except it's like a blade. So I don't know. I'm gonna call him Vice Admiral Tongs, I guess. There we go. Then we have a dude with just like 8 chins, just like a big giant dude that's bald and just has like layer after layer after layer of chins. I'm gonna call him Vice Admiral Jowls. I know those are probably not actually jowls. I think jowls are up here, but whatever. It sounds good, like a Jabba the Hutt kind of thing. Vice Admiral Jowls. You know, he ate the jowl fruit. He ate the chin fruit. I don't know. Then we have somebody that may or may not be Kadar, not sure on that. Then we have an old wrinkly grandma. I'm gonna call her Vice Admiral Raisin. Although I guess not, because there was already Charlotte Raisin. I'll call her Vice Admiral Prune. You know, Vice Admiral Prune. And you better watch out for her, because she looks like about 120 years old, and she's like, you know, she'll wreck you, okay? And then finally we just have a dude wearing a Marine top hat that has a sword and a very prominent underbite. So Vice Admiral, honestly, he kind of looks like an ancient giant a little bit. He's kind of got the oars thing going on there, like the underbite. Screw it. Vice Admiral Oars the Fourth. And I don't know. But, yeah, we have those Vice Admirals there, and then we have Kizaru, the Admiral heading up the entire operation. Okay. So, like the chapter has said, under siege, meaning the Marines are just parked surrounding the island. They're not really attacking the place yet. We're on red alert, though, ladies and gentlemen. Red alert. Do we have a red alert? Do these lights have a red alert setting? We have pink. We have pink. Okay, cool. We can work with pink. All right, hold on. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, pink. We're on pink alert, everybody. The Barbie movie is out, which I do actually want to see. I'm actually really, I want to go check out the Barbie movie at some point. I hear it's really good. Okay, so Sentomaru is there, and they're communicating, him and Kizaru. And, you know, it's like, oh, you know, Uncle Kizaru, I thought I told you to stop shooting our sea beasts. And then Kizaru's like, hey, it attacked me. Come on, I'm not going to let the thing chew on my ship. If it attacks me, I'm shooting it with a laser, all right? You hold them back, and just ugh. So, you gotta remember, Kizaru and Sentomaru, first of all, they were on the same side up until like an hour ago, okay? Like, they're working on the same, they're both Marines, right? So, there's not like a level of animosity here or anything like that, right? And Kizaru is like, this is a military operation, but they're not gonna just start bombarding the island. That would be stupid, because as Kizaru even says, they need the stuff on the island, all right? This is Vegapunk's tech. If they wipe it all out, then that kind of defeats the purpose of even having it, right? So, they're not just gonna attack willy-nilly. So they're just standing their ground right now. They're setting up like a cordon around the island. They're pointing all the cannons directly at it. All the Vice Admirals are on standby. The sea beast, like the giraffe, as Lilith said earlier, they can't exactly control the primal urges of the sea monsters, even though they've been mechanized and converted, right? So like the sea shark still attacked the Sunny, even though they gave it orders not to. So you're gonna have situations like that. And it was the giraffe of all of them. The giraffe was the one that like gave into its primal desire to like attack. You know, don't piss off giraffes. They will wreck your shit up though. Okay. So, yeah, that's the kind of situation we're at right now. The sea beasts are surrounding the island. The Pacifista Mark IIIs are like on the shore, just kind of like at various locations. There's 50 of those. So they're just kind of lining the island, just kind of observing. And Sentomaru and Kizaru are communicating. And so, Sentomaru is just kind of like, hey, you know, I can't believe you came here to kill old man Vegapunk. Like, really? Like, do you have to do this right now, Kizaru? Can you just please leave? Like, come on, you know me. It's me. It's Sentomaru. It's Vegapunk. Like, come on. And so Kizaru is just like, oh, Sentomaru, you know you can't protect somebody that is researching the Void Century. Like, that is like the one big taboo of the world government. I'm just a cog in the machine, Sentomaru. My hands are tied. I can't do anything about it. A lot of characters are eating in this chapter. It's almost like, yeah, they're basically, you know, digging in and just waiting for their siege to begin, essentially. That's just all they can really do is sit around and eat. So Sentomaru is eating, and Kizaru is eating ramen. Everybody on the ship is like passing out ramen. The Straw Hats we see later are eating. Bonnie has a piece of pizza. Everybody's eating. So, you know what? Do yourself a favor and today go out and eat your favorite food. Whatever your favorite food is, go and treat yourself today, right? Okay, just watching this chapter is even making me hungry. Kizaru even remembers the time, Sentomaru even recalls the time when Kizaru was displaying his Pika Pika no Mi to Vegapunk and Sentomaru, right? So we see this little flashback that's really cool of Kizaru firing the laser in the air, and Vegapunk looks a lot younger here. He has black hair, and Sentomaru looks like a child. So this might have been well over like 20-something years ago or something. And so probably like right after Vegapunk started working for the government, I would assume. And that's the adaptation, taking the Pika Pika no Mi and not taking it directly, like adapting it from the Logia that Kizaru has, but just seeing the effects of the laser. Vegapunk like reverse engineered that. Like that inspired him to make the lasers for the pacifistas. And that took him like a while. Like if this flashback is like 20-something years ago, pacifistas, even the prototype, didn't start popping up until 2 years ago. So it took Vegapunk that long to develop the Pika Pika no Mi lasers properly in the robots up to his liking, okay? Which, as we know with Vegapunk, very high standards here, okay? So, you know, Sentomaru, I think, kind of understands that, like, there's no way the Marines can just leave, but I might as well try, right? I might as well try to beseech, you know, Uncle Kizaru's, like, hey, come on, we go way back. Can't you just, like... Can't you acknowledge the fact this is all bullshit and the government is really corrupt and kind of thing? Like, come on now, this is ridiculous. And so Kizaru is just like, sorry, I'm just a cog in the machine, hands are tied, can't do anything about it. So Kizaru, of course, subscribes to unclear justice, which essentially means you have no idea what this guy will do. You know, sometimes, like, I could see Kizaru turning on Vegapunk, and I could also see him working with Vegapunk. It seems like both sides are very possible when you're working with Kizaru here, just because of how random he is, honestly. I'll tell you what, though, if Whoop Slap was here right now, oh man, let me tell you what, in a straight-up fight, no devil fruits, no hockey, oh, Whoop Slap would have kicked the shit out of Kizaru. He would have whooped his ass big, I'm telling you what. You know, he's just like, come over here, you stupid admiral with your fancy pants, and you think you're so cool with your light powers? Oh, Whoop Slap, you are lucky, Kizaru. You are lucky here. All right, so, a little bit of a backstory there for that. Kizaru just says, yeah, we can't just bust in and break everything. That'll be a massive net loss for us. You know, at this point, I think it's fair to assume that the Cypher Pull Zero operation failed. They don't know anything, by the way, about Stussy being a clone and turning on everybody, and then Lucci and Kaku working together with the Straw Hats. They have no idea. They just assume, like, all telecommunications equipment has went dead on the island with the Labosphere when it got cut off, so they have no idea what's going on with that right now. I guess neither do we, technically, until the end of this chapter. Okay, so now we cut back inside of one of the big warships where we see St. J. Garcia Saturn munching on some sausage. So I guess that might be his favorite food, just some nice smoked sausage. So he's there and he's just like, make sure nobody knows I'm here. And so we have Vice Admiral Doberman, and he shows up. He's just like, yes, of course, sir. Do not worry. You want some honey mustard with that sausage? No, I'm good. So anyway, what's going on here? What's the situation? And he's just like, okay, well, first and foremost, we have Morgan's publishing a story that said the Straw Hats have effectively busted into Egghead to, like, kidnap Vegapunk. You know, so that's a good story. And so, you know, St. J. Garcia is like, oh, yes, that's great. You know, we don't have to worry about that now. They'll take the heat for most of this. Okay, fantastic, great. So we have Doberman basically taking the role of the narrator here and giving us like a recap on Egghead a little bit. So he's like, now keep in mind, this is from the Marines' perspective. Like, they don't actually know what's going on right now. So their assumption is that all of the Vegapunks are still active. So the Stella body and all the other Vegapunks are, you know, locked up at the command tower in the Labosphere, okay, behind the Frontier Dome, okay? So they don't know that, you know, Shako was shot, Lilith was stoned, Edison and Pythagoras were in a pretty sorry state, and, you know, they don't know Atlas, they don't know any of the situation with that. They just assume all the Vegapunks are together in the Labosphere. Also, they assume, because they, I guess, don't know that the Seraphim were having their individual fights, they just assume that the Seraphim are with the Vegapunks guarding them, okay? We also know that the Straw Hats are there, and Cypher Pole Aegis 0 are there, but we don't know their exact locations. And we also know that the Mark III pacifistas are lining the perimeter of the island, and they've taken out the remainder of the Cypher Pole government agents that went there with 0. Okay, so like, you know, obviously Lucci, Kaku, and Stussy were the strongest operatives. They had some other random members of CP8 and 7, I think, that came with them. They were all taken out by pacifistas. Let's see here. St. J. Garcia, of course, he is the warrior god of scientific defense, so he would know about the defenses of this island better than most. And so he's like, okay, well, the Frontier Dome is at 100%. That basically means nobody can come in and nobody can come out. All right, they're kind of locked in there for right now, which is great for a siege, which we are in. And so, unfortunately, we have no way of knowing what has transpired after the last day. So this is the following day, just to keep in mind for, like time here, what's going on, okay? So everything that happened last chapter that we saw the Straw Hats, right? So when they, you know, like, S-Hawk ran off and Zoro and Kaku went after him, and then Atlas and Robin and Chopper were heading down into the basement, and then York showed up, and Vegapunk was imprisoned and everything like that. That was a day ago. This is like, so night has happened, morning, and I guess this is like the afternoon of the following day. So a decent amount of time has passed since then, okay? So they have no idea what's going on. And they bring up, what about all the scientists that were on the island? And Doberman reports, it's like, yes, they evacuated yesterday, sir. They all got away. However, we do know the location of their ships. And St. J. Garcia's like, it'd be a shame if one of them got away and told the story. Better sink them. So they just, like, wave of a hand, and the Gorosei just orders a bunch of innocent civilians to be sunk, and then Doberman is just like, yes, sir! You know, and that is the power of a Gorosei. Now do you understand the fear here if, let's say, for example, a member of the Blackbeard crew, I don't know, maybe Katarina Devon or something were to show up and use her power to transform into the Gorosei? This might be Katarina Devon right now, for all you know. You know, it's like, just, no, don't trust anything! Not even the shark. Okay. So, yeah. They're just, I guess they're wiping out the civilians, and there's really nothing that they can do to prevent them, unless one of the Straw Hats or the satellites got out and went with the civilians. Those civilians might just be dead, for all we know now. Doberman also brings up Bonnie. He's like, oh, by the way, one more thing. The Glutton, Jewelry Bonnie, has also been reported to be on the island. And St. J. Garcia Saturn is just like, oh, Kuma's daughter. All right, well, we no longer have any use for her, and she's just a little girl, so just, you know, I guess you don't have to kill her, I suppose, but, you know, you can leave her be if you want to, right? So remember when, after the events of Marineford, when Bonnie was defeated by Blackbeard, and then Akainu showed up, Akainu had a line that was like, you know, it sent shivers down my spine to know that you got away. Meaning that they knew, like Akainu knew Bonnie was Kuma's daughter, and then Kuma used to be, you know, the former, well, he was a former king of the Sorbet Kingdom, but then also a revolutionary, but then also, you know, a pacifista and everything like that, you know, and he was like a warlord and all that. So, you know, Akainu was like, oh, you know, Bonnie got away from us, and she managed to escape Akainu as well, leaving her crew behind, right? So it seems though now we're kind of in the final stages of this. St. J. Garcia really doesn't give a shit anymore about Bonnie. Like, any leverage that she might have had beforehand, it's just like, nah, it's not really a big deal now. Also, the stuff with Kuma has kind of resolved, so it's like, you know, it's fine. You know, if she's there, I guess kill her, I suppose, but really, you could just leave her be. It doesn't really matter either way to us if she gets away or not, okay? It's like very indifferent towards Bonnie, right? Alright, so now we have a transmission from Egghead itself. Okay, so a long-distance call is now being sent out from Egghead to a location. It is being intercepted by the Marines that are there. Also, it's funny, and it's a little bit of a running gag tying back to Kizaru, where one of the Marines has to go up to Kizaru and be like, Kizaru, sir, you have a black Den Mushi on your wrist, right? And Kizaru's like, huh? Oh, yeah, I guess I got one of these things. It's like, oh, good, then you'll be able to listen in on this conversation. And Kizaru's like, huh, how about that? Beep. So this is kind of going back to Sabaody when he was, like, talking into a black Den Mushi, which are used for wiretapping, not direct communication. Kizaru kind of reminds me of, like, a grandpa that, like, you buy your, like, 80-year-old grandpa, like, an Apple Watch for his birthday, and he just doesn't understand how it works. It's like, so what can I do with this watch? It tells time, right? It's like, yes, Grandpa. It's like, oh, you know you can make a phone call with it. Really? A phone call? On my watch? Well, how about that? Hello there, anybody there? It's like, that's kind of like Kizaru with Den Den Mushi technology. Like, they're always coming out with these new Den Den Mushis. The new model of snails are always coming out, whatever. So anyway, this is a call that is being made from inside of the lab to Marijua, to the Gorosei that are still at Marijua. However, the Marines that are stationed around Egghead are intercepting it, so they're listening in too, as well as St. J. Garcia Saturn. So all of the Gorosei are effectively listening to this call. It's just 4 of them are still at Marijua. St. J. Garcia Saturn is here at Egghead. Okay, does that all make sense to everybody? Okay, so the call is coming from York, and we see York's face up close, and York is just like, hey, Gorosei, what the hell? You're trying to kill me or something? What's going on? I thought we were supposed to be, like, I thought we were working together here, okay? So, you guys are so rude. You're trying to kill me here. I was the one that was, like, I was helping you, So, the Gorosei effectively are, like, telling, York in no uncertain terms that, like, hey, you're a Vegapunk just like the others. There's really no reason for us to, like, spare you compared to, like, you're just as much as Vegapunk as the actual Vegapunk in our eyes, right? And so, York does specify, though, it's like, hey, listen, I wasn't doing research on the Void Sentry. That was the Stella and Shaka. That was them doing their crap. Why would I go out of my way to blab to you guys, the Gorosei, if I was researching the Void Sentry as well? And St. J is there, and he's listening, and then the other Gorosei are like, yes, I suppose that is true, I guess. She does have a point. Okay, sorry, I had to turn off the Barbie mode. That was getting a little bit disorienting. Wow, everything is a different color now. Okay, so continuing the phone call, Samurai Gandhi, Ethan, is now like, oh, hey, by the way, didn't Cypher Pole Zero pay you a little visit, York? And York's like, well, what do you think happened? I'm the one calling you right now, so yeah, it's the Straw Hats. They happened. Also, you do know I have all the Seraphim under my control, right? The fact I survived a night shouldn't really surprise you. And like, oh yeah, good point. So then we have Jew Peter, Sanji's uncle. He says, we've changed our hearts on the matter of you becoming a Tenryubito actually now. So they're saying that because York was the one that provided them with the Mother Flame to begin with, so it was obviously York that, like, smuggled that technology out of Egghead and gave it to the Gorosei, not Vegapunk specifically, so now that answers that question. When Dragon and Ivankov were trying to figure out, like, wait a second, the only person in the world that could have made something like this was Vegapunk, but he wouldn't have, right? And then Dragon's like, so that it was York this whole time, right? So the way that they refer to the Mother Flame here, York mentions that she requires a specific power station on Egghead in order to manufacture the Mother Flame. So it was a little bit debatable for a while of whether or not the Mother Flame was the name of the power source for the giant laser or it was the name of the laser itself. In any case, she needs to use a certain power station, which can be read as fusion reactor, on the island in order to generate that thing, okay? So Oda's really been foreshadowing and, like, setting this stuff up for a while now, like Vegapunk gaining access to, like, nuclear power, something that's like a form of power in our world that Vegapunk just couldn't quite understand, but, they're always researching new forms of power, and Lilith said if we could just, harness the infinite power of the sun, or, like something like that, then we can, have a crazy amount of power for all these machines. And so nuclear power is kind of where the end result is. So, the Gorosei realized, was like, well, okay, if we wipe out all the other Vegapunks, including the Stella, except York, if she's willing, will then be able to manufacture more of the Mother Flame. Okay, so we'll have a bunch of sky lasers. And they say that they changed their mind because of a special request from somebody. Now, York, of course, is like, yeah, a request from who? They don't answer. Of course, it's Eam. So Eam was the one that's like, I really liked firing that laser cannon thingamabob. Get me more laser cannon thingamabobs for which I can fire. Click, 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 You know, really, Eam would just love to do that all day, every day. So it's a request from Eam, so they got to obey it. So now things kind of change a little bit here, where they're actually willing to give York a position as a celestial dragon if she'll manufacture more of the mother flames. This time I believe them because it's an order from Eam himself, okay? So this one is a little bit more believable here, okay? Even though York doesn't even know the existence of Eam or anything like that. And she also mentions, you know, also do not lay a finger on my laboratory. And they're like, fine, we won't. You know, and it's like, and be a celestial dragon. That can be arranged. Oh, by the way, there's one more thing. And it's like, what's that, York? It's like, save me from the Straw Hats. Oh, God, please. They have a sword at my throat. There's a guy over here with one eye, and there's a robot, and there's a guy with a slingshot, please. So we have the reaction of the Gorosei freaking out, like, what, huh? And Kizaru was listening in on the call, so he's like, what the hell? The Straw Hats, huh? And so then we see the final double-page spread. In fact, I think it might be the only double-page spread. No, the other double page was the hole in the ocean. But the last double-page spread of York on the ground, secured with the sea prism cuffs, so she's not going anywhere. Zoro is holding Enma at her throat. Where's Enma? Oh my God, where's Enma? Oh, there it is. You know, Zoro has Enma out, holding it right to her throat. Usopp has the Den Den Mushi receiver. He's holding up right to York, so that's Usopp's been holding the phone like, we'll let you call the Gorosei, but tell him what we need to. Don't say anything about us until we hear what's going on, all right? Nami is there with, I can assume, is a bubble gun. So, like, Lilith had, like, the bubble bazooka. Nami has, like, a pistol version of that. So she's like a bubble pistol. And so Zoro and everybody's there, and they're, like, really cool. The rest of the Straw Hats are there, except for Robin. She is the only one that is absent from this scene. We'll get to that in a moment. So we see the rest of the Straw Hats just chilling out and having a light lunch. You know, light lunch for the Straw Hats. Luffy's there chowing down on a giant piece of beef or mutton or whatever, and he's just like, And so Nami and Zoro are kind of paying attention to York. Usopp's holding the receiver. Bonnie is there. She's eating a slice of pizza. That's her favorite food. She's just there like, so, we under siege then, huh? And then, like, she's just realizing this. Brook is in the background. Vegapunk's there. The Stella, the main body Vegapunk, is just there with his backpack, just like, oh boy, Quasar, are we guys ready to go yet? You know? We have Frankie talking to Chopper in the background on, like, a mountain of hamburgers. Sanji's there making a bunch of food, like, Nami, I made more sandwiches. Jinbei's in the background munching down. He's like, it's pretty good, you know? And we have Lucci. We have Lucci and Hattori there, and Lucci is just in the background, just like, oh, wait, actually, hold on. I actually do have a top hat over here. Hold on. So, yeah, Lucci and Hattori are back there, and they're just like... Yeah, have you ever been, like, invited to a party, or, like, a picnic or something, and you show up, and there's just, like, nobody around that you know? Like, let's say you get invited to, like, I don't know, like a wedding reception or something, and it's for somebody that, like, you kind of know, and you're honestly even surprised you got invited, so it's like, sure, I got nothing else going on today, and then you show up, and it's like, don't know them, don't know them, don't know them, don't know them, don't know them. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna, like, walk around the party a little bit and just have some food. You know, that's kind of Lucci right now. He's just like, all right, give me a sandwich, sure. Hattori, you want a sandwich? Okay, here you go. You know, like, honestly, he's here. He might as well make the most out of it, right? Okay. So, York begins to cry, but it doesn't seem to be, like, against the Straw Hats' wishes. Like, she breaks character or anything. The Straw Hats seem fine with it because they got what they needed. And Nami even says, he's just like, everything's coming into focus now, I see. Luffy doesn't even care. Luffy's just like, I have no idea what's going on, but whatever. Listen, you gotta understand the scope of this here, okay? This is a direct call with the Gorosei. The people that, as far as the Straw Hats are concerned, are the effective rulers of the entire world. This is the first time the Straw Hats have had, like, a direct interaction with the Gorosei. Like, they're on the phone right now. Usopp could take the receiver and be like, you hear that, Gorosei? We took York captive to the leaders of the fucking world, as far as they know, right? Like, dude, Luffy could pick up the receiver and be like, yeah, you guys are the people that run the government, right? Well, screw you. It's like, Break next week. But, oh my god, the options here are insane. Okay, so, as I said, it's been a day since the last time we left the Straw Hats, so this might seem rather jarring to a lot of people. Like, what happened? It's like, don't worry, we're gonna get a flashback. Dear God, we're gonna get a flashback. But if we're cutting a day later, yeah, it wouldn't be surprised the Straw Hats won. Surprise, surprise, the Straw Hats beat the Seraphim and the Vegapunk and you know, York, I guess, and they got her detained and they rescued Stella. It makes sense to me, right? We're gonna find out the particulars of all this. A couple of things to note. So, the Stella is there and York is there being detained. Shaka, Lilith, Edison, Pythagoras, and Atlas are not there. I thought Chopper was Edison for a moment, but no, just very similar heads, and he's kind of in a distance, but no, just Chopper's there. So the rest of the Vegapunks might be getting worked on, they might be getting repaired. Frankie is there, unpetrified, so that means they got S-Snake at some point. S-Snake was working for them again. I would imagine, look, it would not have been hard to detain York. Not really. Like, Robin and Chopper and Atlas were heading down to the lab, so it could have been a thing where Robin and Chopper and Atlas bust in, they see York, and she's like, what? Huh? No, you're not supposed to be here. We're the Seraphim. And then Robin is just like, you know, Demonio or whatever, just clutch and just boom, and then, you know, they have her freaking, like, dead to rights, and they have a gun right at her head, and they're just like, you're gonna call the Seraphim off, and you're gonna tell them to, like, unpetrify our friends, and we're gonna have a plan here, and, like, and let the Stella go, and she's like, okay, fine, I don't want to die. You know, so it could have been something as simple as that, like, Chopper goes Monster Point, Robin goes Demonio, and they just beat York like that. They have her under control, so she controls the rest of the Seraphim. Unpetrify Frankie. Lilith is probably fine. They're just in other parts of the lab. Edison and Pythagoras, they might be getting work. Shaka, they might be being, like, in surgery right now. They might be getting worked on. Robin is not present. I looked all over this double-page spread. She is not there, okay? So she might be in another part of the lab. She might be learning stuff about the Void Century, maybe, like Vegapunk's research, or she might have went somewhere else with the rest of the Vegapunks. I assume she would be with the Vegapunks or with the Seraphim. The Seraphim maybe are with the Vegapunks right now. You know, they're not with them in this area here. Also, Kaku and Stussy are not there. So there's probably like a separate group in the lab somewhere else doing work right now. Maybe, you know, they're repairing the rest of the Vegapunks or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, there's significance why Robin is not there, okay? But I'm also kind of upset because Robin is the one person in this whole group that I would want to hear talking to the Gorosei. More than Luffy, more than Vegapunk, more than Bonnie or Jinbei or anybody. I want to see Robin pick up that receiver and be like, oh, so you're the Gorosei, huh? You know, like, I want her to have some choice words with them. It's like, ah, devil child, Nico Robin, at last we speak. You know, that would have been awesome. And she could still do that. She might still walk in, like, I was hiding behind this giant pile of hamburgers the whole time, yes. So, it's great that Oda did this. That's just like the last thing you would expect at the end of this chapter when we get back to Egghead. The Straw Hats just won, and everybody's defeated, and they have the day, and they're just like having a light brunch now, and they're just like, yeah, we won, everything's cool. You know, just like we just skipped to the end of an arc, basically. It's like imagine at the end of Act 2, Wano, when everybody's heading to Onigashima, we then cut away for the Odin flashback, and then we cut back from the Odin flashback, you know, Luffy's just, they're all partying at the Flower Capital, Kaido's defeated, Onigashima is just a wreck. And just like, what happened? And we just skipped to the next day. It was fine. You know, we won. It's cool. It's just like, okay. There will be a flashback, do not worry. But, yeah, let me know what you thought about this chapter, about geography and Whoop Slap and the hole in the ocean and the mother flame, and apparently nuclear reaction is a thing now. It actually might be specifying that Vegapunk might have already had access to nuclear fusion, so it might be referring to technology that's even greater than that, possibly. That is something that's even more that they're looking for right now. That might be a different thing that the Iron Giant was powered by. The Iron Giant might not be nuclear fusion. It might be, like, some kind of ability that's, like, ultimate, like renewing, like channeling the power of the sun directly or something, who knows? No, not sure. Bonnie's out of the paw room, so she saw all of Kuma's memories, and she's just chilling out eating some pizza right now, so I guess she's like, she knows what she's doing. And then Kaku and then Stussy are also gone, so they're somewhere else in the lab. Okay, and then the Seraphim are also missing. So, I guess we'll deconstruct this and see where we go from here, but this is a great chapter to come back, and we got another break for the Oban Festival, so we'll see when the next one comes out. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and Megalodug signing out.